Welcome back to Connections with Stacey Levine-Lavely. So great to see everyone, and I have a special treat for everyone today. With COVID, things have been really tough, and especially services, programs, and things like that have been cut from a lot of people. A lot of people out there are really struggling, and I know that. So I decided to bring on today my new friend, Sean Rose. He is the president and CEO of Thrive Support and Advocacy in Worcester. And they also have a location in Marlborough. He is also with the Worcester City Council. So very distinguished guest today. So really excited to hear a lot about the program and what they're doing. So welcome, Sean.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with you today. And any opportunities that we get to get the word out about Thrive and all the wonderful things we're doing, we're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, we are so grateful for that. And now that you're in Worcester, it's great because we're going to have some programming and services for people. And I'm going to let you speak to that in more detail. And it just couldn't come at a better time because with almost a year under our belt, I mean, a lot of our kids have been remote since March. It's really challenging for some of the parents. And what do you do? And, you know, the socialization opportunities that have been missed now because of all this. And even the ones who are going hybrid, it just looks very different. It's not that you're seeing your friend's face, you're seeing masks and things like that, which can be really scary, especially for kids who are more intellectually having issues or concerned, whether it's developmental or if it's intellectual. So we're just really grateful to hear all about your programming. So I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us a little bit about your program and your organization. And I will stop talking now. So thank you again.
So Thrive is very well known in the Marlborough region. They've been around since 1973. They were originally known as the Greater Marlborough Programming, GMPI, and they branded a year or two ago to become Thrive Support and Advocacy. I'm proud to be their newest recent CEO as of March 16th.
Wow.
And so it's a very small organization, but it's small purposefully, allows us to create the intimate partnerships and relationships with families, resources, caregivers, and so on. We have about 110 full-time staff, 90 or so part-time staff. We have a continuum of services. The golden thread by which we operate is working with developmentally disabled and intellectually disabled folks and families and individuals. 90% of our funding comes from the Department of Developmental Services. We have 4 group homes in the Marlborough, town of Marlborough. We have some of the biggest group homes in all the state. They were grandfathered in many, many years ago. And so we have our residential group home programming. We have our family support programming, individual support program, youth programming, and social and rec programming. So if you imagine like a continuum of services, like the most restrictive being in our group homes and our residentials, and then you get into your family support, your individual support, your youth, and then your social and rec. And so we're kind of a mom and pop operation when it comes to that. We have a great senior management team of people who've been around for over 20 some odd years. The foundation of the organization is really fabulous and terrific. And again, supporting families, challenges around ASD or cerebral palsy. I mean, you name fetal alcohol syndrome, Down syndrome. I mean, you name it, we're there for them in whichever capacity we can be, as referenced in that continuum of services, that we provide. And, I just want to shout out to all the families and parents and caregivers right now. This is an incredibly difficult time to be, having a child or a sibling or an uncle or anyone who is suffering with, this profile these days. We're seeing, social interaction be significantly decreased. We're seeing a real lack of understanding around rationale as to why things are happening the way they are, masks, name it, remote learning, and a ton of other issues. And, we've been really proactive since day one. We didn't sit around and with the assumption that the virus was going to go away in a couple of weeks or was going to disappear. We quickly circled the wagons to create coping baskets for families to keep their children entertained and for them to cope with the stress, anxiety. We did a lot of virtual things. We showed up in driveways and danced. We did a number of virtual things before they became very popular, to really do everything that we could in support of families and caregivers. It's a very difficult time, and I can say that for me and for our agency, COVID has been really difficult, but I think it's made us stronger and better people, professionally and personally. And I hope that same feeling is being connected to all those caregivers out there doing heroes work over the last several months.
Absolutely. I mean, COVID has really raised everyone's compassion to a level I don't think most of us would have ever thought possible a year ago at this time. People were just running here, there, and everywhere. And, it made you slow down. It made you really think. And like you were saying, with people with any kind of intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities, things like that, where they can't get out. I love the fact you said you had a rec component to your programming. And I think that's really critical because I know my son, like he goes to, a school for kids with autism, and, he was always on the treadmill and this and that. And like, he just didn't have access to it because like to go to gyms is just scary right now and things like that. And these kids need to get out, the adults, the kids, whoever, just for the physical activity and just taking a walk while it's nice in theory. It's not going to give you that level of interaction, both socially as well as physically, that people really need. So with that being said, when you're doing your programming and things like that now in Worcester, like what is that going to look like right now? And then what do you hope it's going to look like, as we're kind of, phasing out from COVID? Hopefully people are getting vaccinated and getting everything done. And hopefully by maybe this summer or next fall, we're going to see a different, like a post-COVID world, So what are your thoughts on like where you guys are heading on those kind of things? What you're doing now, like I said, and what you're doing then?
Yeah, sure. We were just recently awarded the Family Support Services contract in the city of Worcester, which we're very, very excited about.
Wow.
We serve Worcester and several other towns adjacent to us, including Shrewsbury.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are just more than excited to be here. I personally have an affinity for it. I've been in the helping profession for over 25 years and never had the opportunity to actually do work in the town by which I lived. So I am just over the moon with excitement to be able to do that. But, what it's going to look like through family support is that we offer like a tremendous resource-rich service navigation.
Okay.
So if there's a family who is struggling with academics, we're there for you. Education, we're there for you. If you're a family who is seeking medical support or resources or help to navigate the medical world, we're there for you, as is with mental health, training, employment, jobs. And so we do that in a number of different ways, with obviously a lot of virtual things as the governor has decreased the amount of people that we can have in offices. That's really slowed some of those things down, but we are so creative. And because we're so small, we have the ability to really reach people and really, everyone says that, oh, well, we individualize for, the persons that we serve. And a lot of times that's, that can be vague, but I can say with a lot of, genuine intent, that we absolutely individualize. Because we're so small, we have the ability to do that. So whatever works for a family, whatever mode of communication works for a family, we're going to be there for them. Whatever language a family needs something in, we're going to be there for them. We're really working towards sign language and getting some ASL folks into our Worcester area to be able to address that need. And, so for us, we're in the early goings. We opened the office January 1st. There's some construction and things happening around me at the moment. But we are absolutely raring and ready to go. our hope of what it looks like is we have a very active social and recreation program. We have after school programs. We're hoping to get up and running and kind of do comparable programming here in Worcester. The ones that we've had a lot of success with in the Marlborough area do them here. Social recreation was something that pre-COVID was 7-day a week operation. We have a fleet of vans, so families don't have to worry about transportation. We literally go and pick them up and drop them off. So it's very active, very busy. Special Olympics, purposeful exercise, movies, entertainment, socialization, tricking into some self-regulation techniques that every young adult needs, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that we have done and we will continue to do. Our hope is to also at some point when we get up and running, there's a real need in the city of Worcester and surrounding towns around food and food insecurity. We're hoping to potentially looking at ideas around how to solve that issue, whether it's food pantry or writing grants or doing something along those lines, and potentially employing our clients to work in the food pantry. Yeah, so we have a lot of opportunity and resources and motivation to address a lot of the challenges in the Worcester area in the same way that we did in Marlborough.
That's amazing. And one thing I want to just kind of circle back, because I was really impressed with this when you said it, is so many people, and I've even had SPED directors say that ASL is not a language. Is because obviously if that's how a person communicates and that's how they need to communicate, then obviously that's something that we need to address. And whether it's in a school setting or social settings, there are things that we do need to be cognizant of and try to definitely, try to meet those people where they are. And I love that you said that, because so many people think it's like, well, if it's not Spanish and French and German and this and that it's not a language. And that was beautiful, because so many different programs don't have techs or people who work with people, therapists, or whatever your particular way that you handle your situation is, that don't have that, the sign language and things like that. So I think that's wonderful as far as that goes. And the fact that you're bringing people, I think that's a huge piece too, is the transportation piece, because so many people do suffer with that, especially as they get to 22 and beyond. If they don't have a driver's license and they don't have the capability to be able to do that, that's something that becomes so critical. And sometimes, public transportation can be great in some ways, but a lot of times if you don't live within a certain area and you're not like this far from a bus route, you're not going to be able to get that, or you're going to have someone drive you to somewhere to be able to pick up a bus, which gets really kind of difficult for some people, and it closes a lot of doors for them, that they're not able to do things that they might want to do, whether it's, like you were saying, Special Olympics and, different programs in the community and whatnot. So I think that's absolutely phenomenal that you guys are reaching out to that. Now, you've mentioned several times, I've noticed, that you're a very small organization and what have you. So the question I guess I have for you is, how many people can you actually serve? I mean, 90 and 110 to me, that's kind of big, for an organization, especially when you're dealing kind of in this general area. So it's not tiny, but at the same time, like, will you be able to service those people from the DDS, like, that are going to be coming in? And how do you kind of determine, I guess, how to use that, human resource?
Sure. So a couple different ways. So in our family support program in Worcester, we are expected to serve anywhere between 600 and 750 families.
Okay.
And so it's a very big catchment area. We do have the bandwidth to do that. When I talk about a small organization, Thrive is a $5 to $6 million a year operation. There are some agencies in and around us, as you know, that are in upwards of 20, 50, 80, $200 million in some cases. And so when I say that we're a smaller organization, I guess I'm more referencing our overall budgetary constraints. And so yeah, we're looking at, but that 6 to 750 is only in the family support. When you start talking about individual support, when you start talking about social and rec, I mean, we can go to, a kid's 8 plus. And so you're talking about thousands of families before it's all said and done. If you
Hmm.
imagine family support's like the core of it, and then you have all these spin-offs, all these like kind of spider webs that come off of it,
Right.
and upwards of the thousands. Um, we have done this very successfully over the last 45 years. Well, sorry, what's my math? 73, 27, 47, 48 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so we look to continue that. And, we, anyone who's listening, just know that, you know, whether you're a part of the Department of Developmental Services or not, we don't, it doesn't matter to us. If we're able to help you in any capacity, even if that includes figuring out how to get connected to the Department of Developmental Services, we're going to be there for you. You don't need to be in the DDS to get into our social and rec programs or any of our virtual things. So I don't want anybody to think that it's a barrier to their participation or getting our support. And the other thing that I'll quickly say is that we're very reflective. So if somebody calls and, says, we have this barrier, we just reference a sign language piece or whatever, uh,
Hmm.
we spend a lot of time talking about how we can be better and looking at some of those obstacles and figuring out how we can navigate through them or address them. And
Hmm.
so we're a very reflective operation. I think we're able to do that because we're so small. And so when something comes up, we're easily able to say, all right, this is the workaround. So we're very eager to meet and address the needs of the Worcester and our adjacent towns in whichever way possible. And we're not naive to the fact that there are going to be some things that come up, like food insecurity or other things
Hmm.
that we're eager to tackle and work on.
And I think that's so important, having that human touch and being able to, I mean, anyone in any organization, you have to be willing to kind of take a step back, listen to the feedback, not even if it is on the more negative side, kind of saying, okay, well, we're not going to be perfect. We're not for, not everything's going to be for everyone and things like that. But the fact that you're willing to look at it, analyze it, try to figure out workarounds that are going to make it more, I guess, useful or usable in a lot of cases, especially like you said, where a lot of stuff it'll come from DDS, but then other people can get involved. And a lot of times people are kind of, if there's some of the organizations, they can only go so far without, say, having been approved from DDS or, different organizations, DMH or, what have you. So a lot of times that's kind of a barrier in and of itself. And I love the fact that you're willing to kind of look at it from the lens of the individual who's participating in the program and trying to figure out workarounds while still keeping the integrity of the program, which I think is important, because there may be 17 people in something and one person's having difficulty, but it's very similar to an IEP where, you make that accommodation so that person can also access whatever it is. So I think that's huge. And especially the food insecurity piece that you keep bringing up is just so critical. And I love the fact that you're being able to reach so many different people in so many different ways and so many different levels with so many different programs. I think that's just really, really a critical piece. So how would they get involved with you? Let's say they aren't coming from DDS or, another organization of that, more of a referral, as opposed to just kind of walking up to you and saying, hi, I need this. Like, I mean, what kind of things would you, A, how do they do it? And B, like, what kind of things do you offer people who aren't coming from those traditional referral catchment area type of referrals, I guess?
Sure. Before I do, I'll just touch on one thing that you said about the reflective process. Um, when you have a child who is has special needs or intellectual disability, it's incredibly challenging for parents and caregivers. And some of the things that are basic things, like where do I get a mask? The governor says
Mhm.
you need masks. Like, how are you going to get masks and this? Or people who are in wheelchairs or have other medical issues or health issues. Caregivers are just overwhelmed in a normal day. They oftentimes have a hard time, it's not predictable, right? Like, you just never know when you wake up what that day is gonna translate for you. It's
Yeah.
just not easy, and so we strive and thrive to be able to. Let's say, oh, I just did that there. Um,
I like
uh,
that.
to
Alliteration.
to really just take away a little bit of that stress, a little bit of that anxiety, and a little bit of that pressure. And so, if that means that we're picking somebody up in a van, or we're doing something creative, or we're doing whatever workaround, we're committed to that, because we know that even that little bit of a workaround is just a tiny fraction of a percentage of the energy that every parent and caregiver is dealing with on any day, dealing with special needs, intellectual disability, and so on. So that's like our heart and soul, and I think that's what separates us a little bit from others. And so, if you're a family who doesn't have any DDS um, relationship or partnership, and you need supports, we're going to treat you the same way as everybody else does. So you can certainly reach out to us through our information on our website, www.icanthrive.org. All of our office information is up there, phone numbers. We do a really good job of getting back to people very quickly and in short order. Again, we don't want anyone waiting or stressing. And so we're very proactive and have a lot of energy around that. So if you have, and there might be some times where someone calls from a different catchment area, and we
Mhm.
don't provide that service that they're looking for in that particular catchment area, we'll connect them with whomever it is to be able to get them get their needs met in whichever capacity. And we're always, any advice, you can call at any time. And so for us, we just want to be that conduit to alleviating that pressure and stress and overwhelmedness that our caregivers and parents and families are dealing with, and trying to care for this profile of individual.
Yeah, definitely. See, Sean's building that program in the back in case you can't hear it, right? So seriously, we're also going to have this on YouTube, as most of you viewers already know. So we're going to drop that in our YouTube, ways to contact Sean, his program, and everything like that. And, I just think it's phenomenal what you're doing. So is there like a process, like as far as applications and that kind of stuff that people would need, or any kind of insurance, or like how does that piece, I guess, work for your program?
Yeah, there are a lot of ways. I mean, some of our social and rec activities are just very nominal. You pay $5 or $10 to get into some of our bigger activities and our events, and we keep
Mm-hmm.
that cost very low. It's more of a spot holder, more so than an actual payment of the. We want people to follow through, and we find that if someone has to pay a little bit of something to be able to
Yep.
do it, that they typically do that. And insurance pays for a number of different things, and I think, again, every case is so unique and so different and so special. And so for us, just call, just email, and we'll take care of all the rest and take that off the plate of everyone. I mean, we're just really committed to this population, this underserved population. We know what the challenges that they have when they're out of school and they turn 18, and that 18
Mm-hmm.
to 22. We know the challenges that families are facing. We know the COVID challenges now. We're getting pretty good at that, sadly.
Yeah.
So we're here and willing to help in whatever
Yeah.
way.
Mm, yeah, and with your group homes, I know you said you had 4 group homes that are larger group homes and things like that. So roughly how many people do you think that you house? Like, I'm not going to hold you to a specific number, but any idea of what you're looking at?
40 total. Um, so we have 11 to 13 in 3 homes, and then in another home we have 6. Um, so those are not as easy to navigate, privately. Those are all DDS funded and contracted homes. So
Hmm.
those would have to be pushed through the referral through DDS, consistent with when we have openings.
Okay.
All of those homes are very different. One of the homes, we have very medically complex adults that require Hoyer lifts and a whole host of medical supports and resources. In our smaller home, it's just a little bit different. So they all have their own, personalities in the homes. We have
Absolutely.
wonderful directors and teams of people. Again, we're not people, we don't have a lot of turnover.
Hmm.
So by nature of that, we get to know families and our clients extremely well.
Right.
They can become predictable for us, and particularly being on the outside looking in, where you can kind of
Right.
see how the map is all coming together.
Yeah.
Uh, but yes, so again, we have that golden thread from the residential all the way down to our social and rec. And we partner with Algonquin and for after school programming pre-COVID. We look
Hmm.
continue to partner with other schools for our after school programming. We have a tremendous youth and youth services director who is like the lifeblood a little bit of our agency. Uh,
Nice.
and we moved, or I should say, they moved towards working with that younger population in hopes that we could provide the resources and meet the needs at an earlier age. As obviously, important to do that so that we're getting ahead of it a little bit and being a little bit more
Hmm.
proactive. We know that we are in the reactive business of things, so that's not, I don't, that's just how it all comes together.
Yes.
Our hope was to really figure out how to be more proactive with families, caregivers. So that social and rec piece has only been a couple of years old, and it's really tremendous.
Wow. And we're seeing a cohort now where, especially like with autism, where it was so few and far between probably when Thrive was originally conceived, and prior to obviously being, allowed to get a public education and things like that, and FAPE and all that. But now you're seeing a cohort that's now starting to age out of the entitlement of under 22 and heading towards those kind of group home situations and opportunities outside and things like that. So do you guys have a plan as far as, are you looking to do expansion on that piece, or is it going to be just geared more towards, programming and social and what have you versus that residential piece if needed?
Honestly, I am not opposed to growing in any part of our programming that I mentioned up to this point, as long as we can maintain the integrity and the talent by which we work. Oftentimes, a lot of programs or agencies will jump at opportunities to grow for the sake of growing. And in doing so, their services and their approach gets watered down. So
Yes.
we're constantly analyzing our ability to grow and expand based on the talent that we have. If you get to a point at some
Hmm.
point where you're like, all right, we don't have the talent to do this,
To
to
support it.
and
Yeah.
support all these other things. But residential is our bread and butter, and we feel really good about that because of the size of our agency. We have so many talented, direct care staff and supervisors and so on. And so we have like the best bench ever. Our bench in some cases are better than others starting teams. And so they're kind of chomping at the bit of, give me a chance, give me an opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
Stepping up to the plate. Oh, that's
oh yeah, yeah.
awesome.
So we
That's
feel really good
amazing.
about that.
Well, Sean, I certainly hope that we can have you come back. I'm dying to hear what more you guys are doing as we move out of COVID and, get back on to regular programming and reaching more people. I know it's going to be really tough the next few months, and I'm sure you'll probably be involved somewhat in programs and stuff like that, and making sure people are getting where they need to so that they can, keep their health up, keep obviously food on their table and things like that, which is so critical. So I thank you so much for joining me here today. And like I said, I would like to open the invitation to come back and talk some more about this. It's been really interesting and it's just fascinating what you guys are doing. And I'm so excited you're in Worcester. I've heard so many great things about you in Marlborough, that this is just such an honor. And I'm really looking forward. My son is actually with DDS and you are our people. So I will be in touch with you too. He just turned 18 a couple of weeks ago. So, I'm definitely on the journey. And that's actually one of the reasons I started the show to begin with, was to kind of follow my journey of, what I've gone from, that process of doing all the kids for the younger kids. And then moving into this has just been like, it's a whole new world. And it's wonderful to have you guys to navigate some of this for the families and kind of really, help them get those pieces in place so that, their kids are, they're people, they're adults. It's so hard to think of him as an adult, that they're still getting those opportunities, that it's not just, Special Olympics and that's it, that there are other recreational activities and community and inclusion and things like that. And thank you so much for providing that. So like I said, I'd love to have you back.
I look forward to it, a day then we could actually be having coffee with one another, and
Absolutely.
forward to you coming to the new office and so on. And I'll absolutely keep in touch. And this network is very small. So any other parents or family members who are watching the show or connected to others, feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for, and we're happy to be a partner with you in your journey for sure.
Absolutely. And we will have all those resources. So please feel free to reach out. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here. Have a great week and keep unity in the community. Take care. Bye.